It's honestly wild when you put Jimmy Kimmel and Barack Obama side by side against Donald Trump. They couldn't be more different in personality or delivery. Kimmel thrives on live television. He lives in the moment. He reads the room, reads the posts, and turns whatever Trump just said into comedy before the applause from the previous joke has even finished. He smiles while he does it. He lets the audience become part of the punchline. There's an immediacy to it, a sense that anything can happen because the target is still online, still posting, still reacting in real time. Obama operates on a completely different frequency. He stays calm. He speaks with quiet confidence. He doesn't chase the laugh as much as he builds toward a moment where the entire room shifts in his direction without anyone quite realizing when it happened. His style is slower, more controlled, more deliberate. He doesn't need volume. He needs precision and timing. Different personalities, different stages, different tools, but they keep ending up with the same result. Every time the story seems to reach a climax, it ends with Donald Trump getting furious, melting down, firing back, or trying to reclaim control through sheer force of reaction. The pattern is consistent enough that it almost feels predictable until you watch it happen again and remember how effective it still is. At the 2024 Oscars, Kimmel took one of Trump's Truth Social posts, read it out loud on live television in front of Hollywood's biggest stars, thanked him with a smile, and asked if it was past his jail time. The audience erupted. The clip spread within minutes. Years earlier, in a black tie room full of journalists and power players, Obama calmly dismantled the entire birther conspiracy while Trump sat in the audience wearing a tuxedo, looking like he wanted the floor to open up beneath him. Looking back, it almost feels like Obama showed everyone the blueprint in 2011. He proved that you didn't need to match Trump's energy. You just needed better timing, better framing, and the willingness to let the public record do most of the heavy lifting. Years later, Kimmel picked up that same approach and delivered it under the brightest lights possible, not in a ballroom full of political insiders, but in front of a global award show audience that was also watching social media in real time. The connection between the two men isn't that they sound alike, it's that they both understand something fundamental about Trump. The most effective way to take him apart is often to use his own words, his own posts, and his own need to respond. Once you see that pattern clearly, the individual moments stop feeling random. They start looking like chapters in the same ongoing story. But to really understand why these moments land so hard and why they keep producing the same kind of reaction, you have to go back to the beginning. Back in 2011 at the White House Correspondents Dinner, Barack Obama walked up to the microphone completely calm and in control. The room was full of journalists, celebrities, and political power players. Donald Trump was sitting in the audience in a tuxedo. What followed became one of the most replayed political comedy moments of the modern era. Obama didn't rush. He didn't raise his voice. He methodically took apart Trump's obsession with the birther conspiracy. One dry, precisely timed joke after another. He noted that no one was happier than Trump that the birth certificate matter was settled, because now Trump could finally get back to the issues that really mattered, like whether we faked the moon landing, what really happened in Roswell, and where Biggie and Tupac are. Then he shifted to Celebrity Apprentice, deadpanning that Trump had recognized a lack of leadership on the men's cooking team and solved the problem by firing Gary Busey. "These are the kinds of decisions that would keep me up at night," Obama said, letting the understatement do the damage. The cameras kept cutting to Trump. He never seemed to find any of it funny. While the rest of the room built with laughter, Trump sat stone-faced, absorbing the fact that the President of the United States was turning him into the punchline in front of everyone who mattered in Washington media. That night has been analyzed endlessly. Many people who followed it closely still point to it as the moment a future presidential candidate experienced what it felt like to be the target of the joke instead of the one controlling the spotlight. It wasn't just that the jokes were good, it was that Obama stayed completely in control of the temperature. He never matched Trump's energy because he never needed to. He simply presented the absurdity of the birther claims, layered in a few perfectly timed observations, and let the room do the rest. 5 years later, in 2016, Obama returned for his final White House Correspondents Dinner and delivered what felt like the perfect encore. Throughout the speech, he mixed policy, light jokes about the media, and a few carefully placed lines aimed at Trump, all without raising his voice or losing his measured style. Then he closed the night with the now famous Obama out mic drop, a clean, confident exit that instantly became one of the most memorable comedy endings ever delivered by a sitting president. If 2011 was the opening punch, 2016 was the graceful finale, same calm delivery, same precision, same refusal to let volume become the point. The public record of both nights is still easy to verify. Full transcript, C-SPAN coverage, archived White House video, every line is still there, exactly as it was delivered. What Obama demonstrated in those two appearances was a method. Start with the public record, keep the tone controlled. Let the contrast between the claims and the reality become the joke, and never give the target the satisfaction of pulling you into their preferred style of combat. That method would prove remarkably durable. Fast forward to March 10th, 2024, the Oscars. Jimmy Kimmel is hosting live in front of a theater packed with celebrities and a global television audience that is also following social media in real time. While the ceremony is still going, Donald Trump posts on Truth Social. He calls the Oscars boring. He accuses the show of being too politically correct. He says Kimmel is the worst host in Academy Awards history and suggests replacing him with someone else. Most hosts would ignore it or save any response for the next day's monologue. Kimmel does the opposite. He takes the extra minute, tells the audience he just got a review, and reads the entire Truth Social post out loud on live television. He delivers Trump's insults about his own performance word for word. Then he smiles and says, "Thank you, President Trump. I'm surprised you're still up. Isn't it past your jail time?" The audience erupts. The moment feels completely spontaneous, even though the skill behind it is obvious. Kimmel has taken a real-time attack, turned it into material, and handed the reaction back to the room. The clip spreads almost instantly. Major outlets cover it as one of the biggest moments of the night. What makes the exchange work so cleanly is that Kimmel rarely has to invent the core of the joke. He takes Trump's own words, uses them as the setup, and lets the audience complete the punchline. There's an efficiency to it that feels familiar if you've watched Obama's older performances. Obama had a talent for cutting through a narrative and exposing its weakness with a few carefully chosen lines. Kimmel specializes in capturing the reaction as it happens and putting it on full display in real time. Different delivery systems, same underlying strategy. When you line the moments up, a clear pattern emerges. When Obama roasted Trump in 2011, it helped create the lasting story of a man who hated being the punchline. When Obama returned in 2016, that story only grew stronger. Then when Kimmel read Trump's Truth Social post during the 2024 Oscars, it sparked another round of headlines, debates, and the same familiar cycle of frustration and response from Trump. The behavior always seems recognizable. The irritation at being mocked, the need to reply, the attempt to seize control of the moment again through volume and repetition. No one has to exaggerate what happened or invent dramatic reactions. The footage, the posts, and the responses are already there. You simply watch the sequence unfold and the story largely tells itself. That consistency is exactly why these moments stick in people's minds years later. Then came the week many people in the media described as a cancellation. Jimmy Kimmel treated it more like a test. In mid-September 2025, ABC pulled Jimmy Kimmel Live off the air for 6 days after a monologue that referenced the controversy around conservative figures and criticized the online outrage culture that formed around it. Network executives said the decision was meant to lower the temperature. The controversy only grew. Donald Trump publicly celebrated the suspension and called for even stronger action against broadcasters who criticize him. Even after ABC announced the show's return, some major station groups continued keeping Kimmel off the air in certain local markets. The back and forth between the network and its affiliates kept the story alive in the headlines. When Kimmel returned, he responded with a passionate defense of free speech. He framed the entire episode as a test of whether public pressure and political attacks could successfully silence criticism. Looking at the bigger picture, it felt like the next chapter in the same ongoing pattern of public clashes between Kimmel and Trump. Another moment where the attempt to punish the critic became part of the story itself. One of the more revealing details came later when Kimmel sat down with Stephen Colbert and described what happened behind the scenes. He recalled getting a phone call while he was in the dressing room less than an hour before the show was supposed to start. Guests had already arrived. The crew was ready. Everything was in motion. His first thought was that it was over. Even so, he decided to tape the show for the archive, knowing some affiliates were already pulling away. The honesty of that account is part of why Kimmel's style connects. He doesn't try to sound like a politician managing a crisis. He talks like a comedian who keeps performing even when the ground is shifting under him. This is where the earlier Obama moments give the whole story a bigger context. Back in 2011, the President of the United States used comedy to make a serious point about accountability, proving that sometimes the strongest political message arrives wrapped in a well-timed joke. Obama never had to call Trump names. He simply presented the facts of the birther claims and the celebrity apprentice leadership decisions and let the audience connect the dots. The discipline of that approach, short setups, grounded details, punchlines that didn't feel forced, is still visible in the transcript today. When you combine that style with Kimmel's ability to work a live audience and react in real time, you get a powerful combination. Kimmel reading Trump's own Truth Social post at the Oscars carries the same spirit as Obama calmly looking into the room in 2011 and treating the birther conspiracy like the opening scene of a sitcom. The delivery is different. The goal is the same. Let the audience see the difference between the public claims and the public record. Obama lets a raised eyebrow and a well-timed pause do a lot of the work. Kimmel reads the post out loud and lets the crowd's reaction finish the joke. In both cases, the message comes across without needing to be shouted. During the controversy around Kimmel's suspension, that same conversation spread across late-night television. Other hosts joked about the idea of a comedy show being pulled over monologue jokes, while also noting the irony that some of the loudest calls for punishment came from figures who celebrated when critics lost airtime. There were even nights that felt like a relay race, with Kimmel, Colbert, and Seth Meyers continuing the same conversation from different stages. It stopped looking like one host taking shots at a politician and started looking like late-night comedy collectively defending its ability to challenge people in power.